It was a quiet September night in Moradabad, Uttar Pradesh. The streets had gone still and most of the city had sunk into the comfort of sleep. But at exactly 11 p.m. on September 17, 2025, a desperate phone call shattered that calm. The police control room received a trembling voice, a man gasping for breath. "Sir, my name is Yogesh. From Goretha village, they're trying to kill me. Shobharam and his sons, Gaurav and Kapil, they're beating me badly. I somehow escaped, but they're looking for me. Please, I'm near the cemetery at Modataya village. Please hurry, or they'll kill me." And then, silence. The sudden panic in that voice sent a chill through the control room. Officers immediately logged the call and dispatched a UP-112 patrol unit toward the location, the dark, deserted cemetery on the bypass between Agwanpur and Pakbara. The team reached within minutes. The road was empty, moonlight struggling to cut through the dense shadows of the trees. They searched every corner, every grave, but found no one. The air was still. Even the crickets seemed silent. When the officers called the same number again, the phone kept ringing unanswered. After half an hour of searching, the officers assumed it was a prank, maybe someone drunk or fooling around. They left, noting it as a false call. But they didn't know. Just hours later, that call would turn into a nightmare that would shake the entire district. The next morning, on September 18th, around 8 a.m., a man called the Pakbara police station in panic. He reported that a blood-soaked body was lying near the same Modataya cemetery. Officers rushed to the scene. When they arrived, a crowd had already gathered, murmuring in fear. The police pushed through and found the lifeless body of a young man, his face brutally smashed, blood dried in the dust. Whoever had done this hadn't just killed him. They'd made sure his face could never be recognized again. The officers searched the area and found a mobile phone near the body. That tiny device, half buried in dirt, would soon unravel one of the most chilling plots Moradabad had ever seen. Senior officers arrived, SP Siddhi Kumar Ranvijay Singh and CO Rajesh Kumar, and ordered a forensic examination on the spot. Every trace, every mark was carefully documented before the body was sent for post-mortem. The news spread quickly across social media. A body found near a cemetery, identity unknown. The town buzzed with rumors. By evening, the truth came out. The dead man was identified as 20-year-old Yogesh Kumar, a resident of Goretha village, the same man who had made that terrified phone call the night before. His post-mortem confirmed everyone's worst fear. Yogesh had first been strangled and then his skull crushed with a heavy object. His family broke down in unbearable grief. His mother fainted and his brother Umesh screamed at the police, "They killed him! Shobharam and his sons murdered my brother." Umesh's testimony was strong. He accused their neighbors, Shobharam and his sons Gaurav and Kapil, of planning Yogesh's murder. The police immediately filed a named FIR and took all three into custody. For a while, it seemed like the case was already solved, but the truth was still buried deep, waiting to claw its way out. During interrogation, the accused denied everything. "Sir, we're innocent," pleaded Shobharam, his voice breaking. "We never even spoke to Yogesh. Ask anyone in the village. We had no fight, no rivalry. We were home all night." His sons echoed the same. Gaurav added something curious. "Sir, that night I got a call from an unknown number. I picked it up, but no one spoke. The call disconnected. When I tried to call back, no one answered. Maybe that's connected. The SSP Satpal Antil, who had joined the investigation personally, grew suspicious. He ordered the police cyber team to trace the number that had called Gaurav. Within an hour, the result came back, and it left everyone stunned. The call Gaurav received had come from Yogesh's own phone. This one discovery flipped the entire investigation. How could Yogesh's phone, from which he had called for help, also be used to call the man accused of killing him? Someone had used Yogesh's mobile after his death. But who and why? Now the police knew one thing for sure. The real killer was still out there. The cemetery wasn't just a murder site, it was a stage for a carefully designed trap. But what was the motive, and how did a simple young man like Yogesh get tangled in something so dark? As the investigators gathered at the station for an emergency meeting that night, SSP Antil gave a sharp order. Find who bought the SIM card. Check every CCTV on the route from Goretha to Pakbara. Someone used that phone to frame others. This isn't random, it's a setup. Officers spread across the district, scanning footage and questioning locals. Late that night, they spotted something. A blurry clip showing 3 men on a bike near the highway, heading toward the same area where Yogesh's body was found. That clue changed everything. The number plate led to a man named Manoj, a painter who lived in Pakbara's Sainionwala Mohalla. When police raided his rented house, they found it locked. Neighbors said Manoj had vanished just 2 days earlier. A strange silence surrounded his home, as if he'd disappeared into thin air. The villagers whispered stories that Manoj was a temperamental man, someone who had lived in Goretha before opening a small salon, and that he had a history of trouble. The police realized this wasn't just another murder. This was the beginning of something much darker, a tale of obsession, betrayal, and blood. And the man named Manoj was at the heart of it. Who was Manoj? Why did Yogesh die such a brutal death? And what hidden secret from Goretha village had pushed everything toward this tragedy? Manoj wasn't just a name in the police file. He was a ghost from Goretha's past. Years ago, he had lived in that same village known to most as the man who ran a small barber shop by the dusty roadside. To outsiders, he looked ordinary, calm, polite, and harmless. But those who knew him closely whispered that there was something unsettling behind his smile. He was clever, unpredictable, and had a temper that could ignite without warning. When police began digging into his background, the darkness of his past began to surface like blood through water. Originally from Kedadas village in Budan district, Manoj had left his home years ago after being named in several serious crimes: theft, assault, even attempted murder. The pressure from police raids had driven him to flee. He settled in Pakbara, taking a small rented room under the name of Rajesh Diwakar and opening a salon in nearby Goretha village. There, fate introduced him to the family that would seal his destiny: the Shobharams. Shobharam was a simple shopkeeper running a small grocery store with the help of his 2 sons, Gaurav and Kapil. But it was his young daughter, Swati, who often sat at the counter, smiling as she handed over change to villagers. Her presence was innocent, yet to Manoj she became an obsession. Every time she sat behind the counter, Manoj found a reason to visit. Sometimes he came for shaving cream, sometimes for snacks, but always his eyes were on her. It began as casual conversation, a polite, "How are you?" became small jokes, then whispers, and soon secret messages. Swati was young, barely out of her teens, and easily drawn to Manoj's charm. He spoke sweetly, promised her love, freedom, and a world beyond the narrow lanes of Goretha. Slowly, their relationship deepened into something forbidden. In time, they crossed every line of decency their village held sacred. By the time her family noticed, it was too late. The gossip had started to spread, and one night Swati's brother caught her sneaking out. The confrontation was brutal. Swati was beaten, locked inside her room, and forbidden from stepping outside again. Gaurav even confronted Manoj in public, warning him never to come near their house again. Humiliated and enraged, Manoj packed up his barber shop and left the village. But his obsession with Swati only grew stronger. He began working as a painter in Pakbara, taking small contracts to repaint houses and schools. But even then, his mind stayed in Goretha. He found ways to contact Swati through phone calls and secret messages. She, too, was restless. Despite being caught, her emotions for Manoj refused to die. Soon the two began meeting again in secret late at night. Swati would mix sleeping pills into her family's dinner, waiting until they fell unconscious before sneaking Manoj inside her house. But in every story of forbidden love, desire often turns into destruction. As weeks passed, their secret meetings became harder to manage. Fear and frustration began eating at them. Swati's family watched her constantly. They had even warned her. If she ever tried to meet Manoj again, they'd marry her off to another man. Trapped between fear and obsession, Swati began to think of one horrifying solution. "Manoj," she whispered one night during a secret meeting, "if they die, we'll be free. Kill them, my father, my brothers, everyone, then no one can stop us." Even Manoj was startled. For a moment he refused. Murdering her family was madness, he said. But the poison in her words stayed with him. Over the next few days he began forming a plan. One not just to eliminate her family, but to make sure they were blamed for a crime they didn't commit. "We don't need to kill them," he told her eventually. "We'll trap them. I'll find someone to murder, and I'll make it look like your father and brothers did it. They'll rot in jail and you'll be mine." That night his mind worked like a criminal machine. He knew one man who trusted him blindly, Yogesh Kumar, a young laborer from Goretha who worked under him painting walls. Yogesh was quiet, loyal, and poor, the kind of man no one would question if he went missing for a day or two. To Manoj, he was the perfect pawn in his wicked game. Manoj shared his plan with his cousin Manjit, a resident of Ekta colony in Moradabad. Manjit, who had his own criminal streak, agreed to help. They waited for the right moment, a night when Yogesh would be alone, drunk, and easy to manipulate. They didn't have to wait long. On the evening of September 17, 2025, Manoj saw Yogesh heading home after work, a small bottle of liquor in his hand. Manoj waved him over and smiled. "Come on, brother. Tonight we celebrate. I just got a payment from a big client." Yogesh laughed. "I've only got half a quarter, that's all, no problem." Manoj grinned. "We'll buy more. You, me, and my cousin Manjit. Let's make it a party." The trap was set. Yogesh, unaware of what awaited him, joined them. The three men bought more liquor from a roadside shop near Mangupura petrol pump. They then took a deserted road toward the herbal park near Mahakaleshwar temple, a silent spot hidden from the world. There, under a lone street light flickering in the wind, they began drinking. While Manjit poured the drinks into 3 disposable glasses, Manoj slipped 7 crushed sleeping pills into one. He stirred it well, hiding any trace of powder. When Yogesh returned from buying snacks, they raised their glasses. "Cheers, brother," Manoj said. Yogesh drank his glass in one go, laughing, completely unaware that it would be his last. Within minutes, the effect began. His speech slurred, his eyes drooped. Soon his body went limp. Manoj and Manjit lifted him and placed him on the motorcycle, driving toward the empty road near the Moradabad cemetery. The same place he would later call for help from, without even realizing the call was fake. But the story of that night was far from over. Because what Manoj planned next wasn't just murder. It was deception at its most monstrous. And what happened under the shadow of that cemetery would leave even the police speechless. The night was deep and windless when Manoj and Manjit carried Yogesh's limp body on the motorcycle toward the lonely Moradabad cemetery. The faint hum of the bike's engine was the only sound cutting through the darkness. Yogesh's head rested against Manoj's shoulder, unconscious and unaware of the death waiting for him. As they approached the edge of the burial ground, the bike came to a slow stop. A broken signboard nearby read, "Cemetery ahead. Do not enter after dark." But the men didn't care. Their plan was already in motion. They dragged Yogesh to a patch of open ground near the graves. His breathing was heavy but faint. Manoj looked at Manjit with cold determination and said, "Now it's time." Manjit hesitated. "Brother, he's not even awake yet. Maybe we can—" But before he could finish, Manoj snapped, "Do it!" He pinned Yogesh down, pressing his knees into his chest. The poor boy stirred weakly, murmuring in confusion. Manjit, trembling, picked up a nearby brick and struck him across the head. The sound was sickening, a dull, wet thud that echoed into the night. Yogesh groaned once, his voice breaking into a cry. Why? Why are you doing this?" But Manoj didn't stop. He pressed his hands tightly around Yogesh's neck, squeezing until the body stopped moving. When it was done, silence filled the air again. Manoj stood up, breathing heavily, his hands trembling, but not from regret. He had already moved to the next step of his plan. He pulled out Yogesh's phone, wiped the blood from his fingers, and turned to Manjit. "Now watch carefully," he said. "This is where they all get trapped." He opened the phone's contact list, selected Swati's number, and called her. When she picked up, he whispered, "Give me your brother Gaurav's number." She didn't question why. Within seconds, she sent it. Manoj then used Yogesh's phone to dial Gaurav. When Gaurav answered, Manoj remained silent, just breathing into the phone before hanging up. Then, to complete the illusion, he dialed the police control room. He disguised his voice, mimicking Yogesh's frightened tone. "Sir, my name is Yogesh. Shobaram and his sons are attacking me. I'm hiding near the cemetery. Please help." The lie was perfect, and the police believed it. By the time officers reached the spot that night, Manoj and Manjit had already fled. They returned to Pakbara quietly, their clothes still stained with dirt. Manoj's mind was racing, but not with guilt, only fear of getting caught. "We can't stay here," he told Manjit. "Let's go to your place tonight." They spent the night at Manjit's rented room in Ekta Vihar colony. By morning, both went their separate ways. Manjit to his jewelry shop job and Manoj back to his ancestral village in Bhutan. The trap had been set, and for a brief moment Manoj believed he'd outsmarted everyone. But destiny, like truth, never stays buried for long. Within 2 days, police surveillance caught sight of 2 suspicious men riding a bike near Huda Tiraha. When signaled to stop, they sped up instead. The chase was short. The bike skidded. Both fell, and in a moment of panic, one of them opened fire on the police. The officers retaliated, and a single bullet struck the shooter's leg. He screamed in pain. It was Manoj. Both men were captured before they could escape again. Manoj was taken to the hospital while Manjeet was dragged to the station for interrogation. Hours later, when SSP Satpal Antil arrived, he faced them both. "Why did you kill Yogesh?" he demanded. Manoj tried to keep calm but soon cracked under pressure. "I didn't kill him for money," he said coldly. "I killed him for love." The room fell silent. Even the officers stopped writing for a moment. Manoj told the full story. How he had fallen for Swati, how her family had beaten him and humiliated him, and how he had promised to take revenge by framing them. He explained every step, the sleeping pills, the call to the police, the fake cry for help. When they went to jail, he said, Swati would be mine. But when officers brought Swati in for questioning, the illusion finally collapsed. Swati, terrified and trembling, confessed everything. She admitted to drugging her family at night so Manoj could visit her secretly. She admitted her part in sharing her brother's number and helping him build the trap. But she broke down when she heard about Yogesh's brutal death. "I didn't want this," she cried. "He promised no one would die. He lied to me." Her tears didn't save her. The law saw her as an accomplice. The press conference the next day revealed everything. On September 22, 2025, SSP Antil stood before the cameras and declared the case solved. The killers, Manoj, his cousin Manjeet, and his lover Swati, were all in custody. The motive, a twisted love affair that turned into a conspiracy of deceit. The city of Moradabad shuddered at the story, how a single lie told in the dark near a cemetery destroyed so many lives. When the reporters asked the SSP what lesson the case carried, he simply said, "Blind love and blind hatred, both kill." The court later sent all 3 into judicial custody to await trial. The village of Garitha returned to uneasy silence, but the shadow of that night never left its soil. Even today, people still whisper about the call that came from the dead, the voice of Yogesh pleading for help in the dark. And as for Manoj's words written later in his confession statement, they still haunt the investigators. "I thought love would set me free, but love is what buried me alive." So here's a question for you. When love blinds us so deeply that we stop seeing right from wrong, is it still love? Or is it just another form of madness? What do you think?